Welcome to the 2024 International Day of Persons with Disabilities celebration. Please welcome speaker, content creator, model, author, and advocate, Molly Burke.
Hello and welcome to Champions for Change, a global celebration with disability in. I'm your host, Molly Burke, and my pronouns are she, her. For those who don't know me, I'm a social media content creator, corporate accessibility consultant, public speaker, author, and disability advocate who happens to be blind. And because I myself am blind, I'm going to provide a visual description in case there's other blind or low vision folks watching who would appreciate that as much as I would. I am a white woman with fair skin and freckles. I have light eyes, dark brown hair in a bob length, and I'm sitting in front of a blue background. I'm delighted to partner with Disability In today, the leading nonprofit promoting disability inclusion in the global business community, to host this virtual event honoring International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Founded in 1992, this day recognizes the rights, contributions, and lived experiences of people with disabilities worldwide. It emphasizes that disability inclusion is an active movement that is reshaping our world. Disability In, founded to challenge the misconception that people with disabilities can't work, now partners with over 550 corporations to ensure meaningful participation across industries. Our community has remarkable stories to share, and that's what today is all about. Earlier this year, we saw disability inclusion at the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games, and it sparked global conversation around disability inclusion. Today, we're going to talk to 5 athletes who show us what you can really accomplish with access, talent, and opportunity. Their journeys, victories, and setbacks transform perceptions and challenge stereotypes. Today, we're going to explore their athletic achievements and their ongoing advocacy for disability inclusion. Let's meet our first athlete.
Please welcome sprinting Paralympic athlete, Brittni Mason.
Hello, Brittni. I am so thrilled to be chatting with you today. I have so many questions for you, but before we dive into those, I'd love to hear who is Brittni in your own words.
Yes, absolutely. My name is Brittni. I use she, her pronouns. I am a 5-time Paralympic track and field medalist, a 2-time world champion, and a 2-time world record holder. I am currently in Orlando, Florida, training full-time as a professional athlete, and I am originally from Cleveland, Ohio.
So accomplished. You can see exactly why we've brought you here to have a conversation today. But again, before we dive into that, I would love if you would give a brief image description of yourself for our blind and visually impaired viewers.
Yes, absolutely. I am African American with blonde and black hair, currently wearing a gray body jumpsuit, and I am in my home in Orlando, Florida.
Girl, the hair sounds on point. Loving it. Sounds so cute. And I love a jumpsuit. Always down for the comfortable, chic moment. And now let's dive into our first away from fashion and hair, and let's get into the sports. So time for the first question. I'd love to hear a bit about your journey as an athlete to getting to where you are today.
Yes, absolutely. So it's actually been a long journey. I've been doing sports for as long as I can remember. So I was born with Erb's palsy, which is a form of brachial plexus, which limits my range of motion in my left shoulder and arm. And so pretty much from the age of 2 to 3 years old, as I can remember, I was always in sports. I started off in swimming, gymnastics for my range of motion. And then I was a dancer, and then I went into playing basketball, and then eventually track and field at 10 years old. Now, for me, growing up, I was very girly. So I thought running was I don't want to sweat. I don't want to do this. I want to, be a ballerina. I want to be a gymnast. I want to do everything that's really cutesy. And so started running track when I was 10 years old for an AAU team, just a summer league around my neighborhood. And then at the age of 11, took it a little bit more seriously. But again, I'm only 11 years old and ended up becoming the fifth fastest 11-year-old in the country in the 100-meter dash and 200-meter dash. So then started to kind of like take track as like my main sport. And then ran through middle school, ran through high school, had a lot of success in high school, had the state record my senior year in the indoor 60-meter dash. I was able to gain multiple scholarships and went on to run at Eastern Michigan University, where I was a short sprinter and also continued to have a lot of success, not only individually, but also adding to our team sport and like championships and things like that with our relays. And then someone reached out to me actually while I was in college and asked if I was interested in running in para track and field. And I had no idea that I was even eligible. I actually didn't even really consider myself having a disability until someone reached out to me and explained the process of the Paralympics and everything like that and the different classifications. And then at the age of 21 years old, I went to my very first World Championships in Dubai, where I broke the world record in my very first meet. And then from there, went to my first games in Tokyo, had some success there. 3 medals, 1 gold, 2 silvers, and a world record. And then also just finished up my second Paralympic Games in Paris, where I just brought home an additional 2 silver medals.
Incredible. What I find so fascinating about your story is it sounds like at first sport was almost used as like a therapy or a rehab for your disability. And then it kind of became a passion, an interest, and it clearly you had a natural talent and were able to hone that through training. So how did you train? What did it look like getting to the Paralympic Games for your first games in Tokyo?
Yeah, absolutely. So because I was just so new into the sport and I was still in college, a lot of things didn't necessarily change for me. I knew that I was, on this big world stage now, but I was still in college. I was still competing at the collegiate level. So for me, it was just like this normal day to day for me of, going to practice about 3 or 4 times a week for lifting, depending on the week. And then also like running 4 to 5 times depending on the week and the time of the season. And it's funny that it didn't really dawn on me how important it was and, the accomplishments I was achieving until like after my first Paralympic Games. Because for me, it was just like the normal traditional training that I was so used to. And growing up, like my parents, again, never allowed me to use my disability as an excuse for what I could and could not do. And so for me, I've always just trained how I've trained. I've had to, overcompensate for certain things and find alternative ways and such for like running and lifting and things like that. But I just kind of really kept that mindset going into my first games. And then it was like after the fact that I was like, oh my gosh, like, wow, like I really just prepared for my first Paralympic Games. And I think more so just being in college still and just being so new to the sport really helped me to not think too much about it. So I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but it did help, I think, with my my performance.
Well, you clearly didn't let the pressure get to you with all of the medals that you've brought home in both Paris and Tokyo. And another aspect of your story that I'm so fascinated by is this element of kind of not identifying as disabled and then representing Team USA on the world stage at the Paralympics, not once, but twice. How does that feel? What was that transition like for you with your own self-identity? And how does it feel to be representing your country on the world stage?
Yeah. So for me, again, growing up, not, thinking that I had a disability, honestly, I thought that the transition would be a lot harder. But then coming into this world, I remember in like 2019 when I first entered para and seeing all of these incredible athletes with so many amazing stories and different disabilities. And I'm like, wow, like there is an entire community where I belong. And it's okay to say, hey, you have a disability. And like, you guys are amazing and you're kicking butt and you're accomplishing such great achievements that, normal people aren't just on a normal day going to the Olympics or Paralympics. It's like 15% of the world's population is disabled. So then like taking that small percentage and, looking at how many of those those disabled people are athletes or even at the Paralympic level is like very, very small. And so being able to know that I was now in this small percentage of people and like there was this entire community was just like so fascinating to me. And I'm still learning a lot about it and continue to grow and just love being able to say like, hey, like I do identify as, a disabled athlete on the day to day, and being able to spread awareness and, tell people, most people look at me and they're like, well, what's your disability? Because it's so invisible. But, when you watch me compete, you can clearly see it more so than when I'm just walking around in my day-to-day life. And just being able to compete on the world stage for, my country is just so surreal. Like I was ready to hang up my spikes after college, just go into the medical field, ready to just work my normal 9 to 5. And then this entire experience opened up for me. And honestly, now I don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't a full-time Paralympic athlete.
Well, I think all of us who watch the Paralympics are so curious what it's like to be there on the ground, to be competing. We see the videos on TikTok about the mattresses at the Olympic Village and the meals. Can you tell us anything about that experience? Any kind of behind the scenes info or details you can give us? Highs, lows? What was your proudest moment?
I have never ran in front of so many people in my entire life. Like the stadium was so packed. It was like surreal. Like just looking up and it's just like, oh my gosh, like there's so many people. The crowd is so loud and like they were just so excited to, be there. And so this time around I was able to have like my family and my boyfriend, like my coaches were there. And so like that experience was just super amazing. The cardboard beds are true. But they were comfortable, in my opinion. USA gave us mattress toppers, so we were comfortable, and we had AC fans. Some countries, I don't think they had fans and things like that, so it was a little bit hotter in their rooms, but USA took care of us. The food in Paris at the village was not the greatest. But the chocolate muffin was really good. I will say that. Everyone was raving about the chocolate muffin. Their croissants were really good. The coffee was really good. But not necessarily like the food in the village. It was like very hit or miss. And then typically on most track meets and when we're on like major world championships and things like that, we're able to kind of like go around and see the city and things like that. So we were able to do that for Paris this time around, which was really nice. And then I'm trying to think of any fun other things. Well, which was also interesting too. It's like when we were in Paris, hopefully this happens when they host the next Paralympic Games in LA. But anytime they announced a French athlete, the crowd went nuts. It did not matter what the discipline was. Like I've never seen a country so proud to host a games. But then again, Tokyo was COVID, so I don't know how that would have gone as well.
Well, as you said, hopefully with the Para Games coming to Los Angeles, Team USA gets that same love every time one of your athletes is coming out. And do you think we'll be seeing you in Los Angeles? Do you plan to continue on this journey? What is next for you?
Yes, absolutely. So it's so funny because people were asking me like while I was in Paris, and I'm like, hey, like let me finish like my races first before we go to the next games. But now like looking at it, like if I can continue running through LA, like that is my goal. That is what I'm training for. Now these next 4 years are going to set me up for LA. And I'll still be young, still just turning 30. So I do think I have a lot left of me in the sport. I would like to go through at least 2 more games. So if it's in the will for me to do so, like I'm definitely going to keep training and, bringing awareness to the Paralympic community.
Well, thank you so much for representing our community, for representing our country. I, for one, will certainly be cheering you on here in Los Angeles. It's my home city, so I will be here. I will be supporting you. Can't wait to see you there. And thank you for having this conversation with me, Brittni.
Of course. Thank you.
Please welcome long jump Paralympic athlete, Brian Impellizerri.
Hello, Brian. It is so nice to meet you. I am so excited to ask you questions about your extremely impressive career as a para athlete. But before we jump into that, I would love it if you could just give a brief description of who you are and what you look like.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I'm also very excited to be here sharing this moment with you. For those who don't know me, I'm Brian Impellizerri, an athlete on the Argentinian Paralympic team. Today, I'm a Paralympic champion from the 2024 Games. I've been training in the long jump discipline for about 7 to 8 years now.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I know you already touched a little bit on your athletic journey, but I'd love if we could go a little bit deeper into your history as an athlete and how you came to be the para athlete you are today.
I started in 2017 when I met my coach, Martin Arroyo, who also coached Yanni Martinez, a medalist in 2016. It was by chance at a birthday party that I met him. He turned out to be the uncle of a school friend of mine. At that party, he noticed my disability and my remarkable height. And he invited me to train and try out long jump in athletics. That's when I first ventured into the sport. At a trial jump on the track in Rosario, I managed a jump of about 5 meters, which placed me among the top 10 in the world. It was then he began to explain what we could potentially achieve within Argentina Paralympic sports. He talked about representing Argentina in nationals, a Pan-American competition, a world championship, or perhaps even the Paralympics. Like my teammate, Yanni Martinez. That's when I started to put more effort into what began as a hobby. After 3 months, I went on my first international trip to Brazil for an Open Kaiser event. There, I won the bronze medal with a 5.2 meter jump, which ranked me among the top 6 to 8 in the world. That's when I realized I had talent for this sport and started taking it more seriously. My mindset shifted, and I understood I could achieve much more.
It's incredible to think that so much success for you came out of a chance encounter at a birthday party. But of course, beyond that, it sounds like you had natural talent and then the commitment to train. And most of us will never go through training for something even nearly as intense as competing on the world stage against the best athletes there are. What did training look like for you?
Thank you very much. Honestly, we've achieved great results in a short time. Even though it's been a 7-year career, few people manage to accomplish this so quickly. I'm very happy and proud of this result. Right now, we're training 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, with double training sessions on 4 of those days, including gym work. In addition, as we always say, the work of a high-performance athlete is 24/7. It's not just the training, it's everything that comes with it. Preventative kinesiology, nutrition, physical preparation, biomechanical strength evaluations, gym sessions, track training. All of this combined leads to results we achieved in international competitions.
It's clearly such a huge commitment, a labor of love, and you put so much effort in for so long, it becomes really your whole life, this commitment to the training. And then you finally get to the Paralympic Games. What does it feel like to be competing on the world stage and representing your country?
I think it's hard to explain in just a few words. I believe every athlete aspires to and dreams of reaching the highest level of their field. The Paralympic Games are the biggest sporting event in the world. For an athlete, the dream is to get there. Above all, to represent their country, knowing that millions of people are watching and supporting them. Truly, being there, and in the best case scenario, standing on the podium while your country's anthem plays, is the most beautiful and proudest feeling you can experience. It gives you goosebumps from the emotion. In Paris, there were 70,000 people listening to Argentina's national anthem while the flag was raised, and I had the medal around my neck. It was truly unimaginable to reach such a level with so many people watching and cheering for me.
It is so clear you've had such a successful career up until now. I'd love to know what's next for you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. We had a Paralympic schedule full of important tournaments, and my coach, Martín Arroyo, and I have already started planning this cycle. In 2025, we had the Para-Athletics World Championship in India around this time in November. In 2026, there will be several international tournaments. In 2027, it'll be a packed year with the Pan American Games in Lima, Peru, and a World Championship in Los Angeles. Then, in 2028, we'll have the Paralympic Games in Los Angeles. We've already started planning year by year, but we also map out the next 4 years as a whole, adjusting the plan annually.
Well, Brian, it sounds like you have no time to rest. It sounds like you have lots of training upcoming, lots of competitions. I'm sure lots of medals to take back home to Argentina. Thank you for sitting down to chat with me. And it sounds like we'll be seeing you here in Los Angeles.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's a very busy Olympic cycle. And as we always say, this is the life of an athlete. It's a day-to-day job, 24 hours a day, year after year. The honor of being here with you is mine. I'm really happy to have shared this moment. I hope to see you in Los Angeles, and I also hope you enjoy this conversation.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Please welcome sprinting and cycling Paralympic athlete, Kadeena Cox.
Hello, Kadeena. I am so thrilled to be chatting with you today, and I've got lots of pressing questions for you. But before we dive into that conversation, I would love it if you could give a brief audio description for the visually impaired audience.
Hi, my name's Kadeena Cox. I'm a Black female with mid-length, curly, somewhat frizzy hair, and I've got a black hoodie on, and I'm sat in my living room with a really cute picture of my dog. It's a drawing of my dog behind me.
Oh my gosh, stop. I love that. So cute. I wish I could see the doggy. I'm here all for the dogs. I'm so excited that you're a dog lover, but also you are such an incredibly accomplished athlete. I would love to hear about your journey to get to become the athlete you are today.
Yeah, I think I'm probably more proud of the fact that I've managed to train two very cheeky dogs.
Not easy.
Yeah, I've had a pretty. My career as an athlete's been pretty turbulent. I started out as an able-bodied. I mean, if we go back to like really teeny Kadeena, like at the age of 4, I started dance, and I was a dancer. Like did like ballet, contemporary, jazz, tap, Afro-Caribbean, like everything. And then I basically did every sport. I was that sporty kid that you wanted on your team for everything. And when I was maybe 14, I started track and field. I was a sprinter. I kind of got selected from a talent scheme type thing. And yeah, like kind of got into athletics at that point, and was kind of national standard till I was in my late teens. Did the 100 meters and the 200 meters predominantly then. And then at the tender age of 23, I had a stroke, which affected my right side. And then 4 months later, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which is why today I am a Paralympian as opposed to an able-bodied athlete. But yeah, like then it kind of got really like fun, but really bumpy at the same time. So when I first got back, like my balance was horrendous. So I started cycling. So I was doing like bits of cycling, predominantly on a watt bike, but then kind of got picked up by British Cycling. But while I was doing that, I was then able to regain like my ability to run, which was obviously my first passion. So I think it was just over a year from my diagnosis, I went to my first World Championships in athletics, and I walked away with a gold medal and the world record, which was amazing. And then a week later, I got disqualified from the 200 meters, which was like typical like Kadeena fashion, like real high and then coming crashing back down. And then 2 years. So 2 years from my diagnosis, so a year after that, or within that year, I became a world champion and world record holder in cycling. And then I went to the 2016 Paralympic Games in Rio and became the first athlete in 32 years to get a gold medal in 2 different sports at the same games from Great Britain. And I got world records in those. I also got a silver and a bronze. And that was like super fun. And then, I went on to kind of defend world titles in athletics and cycling. I picked up, I think I got a T-shirt the other day from a rugby team. I think it was England rugby team, and it had the number was the amount of medals that I'd gained at major championships, and I think it's 23. So I've gained 23 major championships medals. Tokyo 2021, I broke my world record in cycling. Got a world record in my individual event and also my team event, and got 2 gold medals there. Painfully came 4th in the 400 meters, but didn't defend my title there. And then in the games just gone, I got a gold medal in the team sprint, which is my team event. And that all sounds super fun. I think I told you the highlights, which are all amazing. But honestly, it has been a journey. Let's just say 3 weeks out from Paris Games, I had one of those ugly grey boots on my foot and wasn't able to train. So, it's been a real journey.
I truly identify with so much of what you just shared. So thank you. A lot of humble brags there, well-deserved humble brags. It's incredible what you've accomplished, especially given, like you said, those highs and lows, which I think so many of us living with disabilities can relate to those highs and lows. Unfortunately, I also very much identified as an athlete growing up from a young age. I too was a dancer from like the age of 3 or 4 years old, and my disability was progressive and developed over time. And I had to make that transition from kind of non-disabled sports and competing on non-disabled teams to figuring out accommodations and adaptations and entering into the world of adaptive sports. So I completely understand like so much of those transitions that you went through, but I certainly cut short of what you did. You have gone full send all the way to competing in not 1, not 2, but 3 Paralympic Games. As you said, medaling in all of them, despite some of those lows that you faced in preparation. What is it like being on the ground at the Paralympic Games? Do you have any kind of behind the scenes secrets you could share or funny stories?
It's interesting because you got to, when you're home, you have your safe food, you have like the foods that you're used to eating. And then you have to transition into kind of just adapting to what's in the food halls. I was able to get food, like some food bits shipped over because I'm quite a fussy eater. I'm very open about speaking about the fact that I've got an eating disorder. So I struggle with like certain foods. I have like more safe foods. And like, it's really challenging for me going to kind of a village where I'm out of control. And weirdly, you can't travel into France with fish. So I wasn't able to travel with I normally have like half my suitcase filled with food. And I wasn't able to travel with the tuna. But we have a tuna brand, John West, who brought out tuna for me. And there was actually a day and I had this massive meltdown because they sent me tuna and they sent me just a normal plain tuna in like sunflower oil. I think they sent me one in like basil. And then they sent me like jalapenos ones. And I was literally having this meltdown. I was like, where is the sweet chili tuna? Like, I can't survive without sweet chili tuna. And I basically was like, I'm not going to eat if I can't have sweet chili tuna. And one of our Swannies, so in cycling, we have, they're kind of like carers. So they kind of run around and do everything for us. They help us get into our kit on race day. They help prepare the bikes. They like sort out food. Like they do loads of bits. They're absolutely amazing. And one of our Swannies, Ash was like, Kadeena, I will go to the shops and I will buy you sweet chili sauce that you can put on the plain like tuna, and then you can make your wrap. And I remember like, I've got a video actually, and I sat with this like wrap and I was like waiting for her to bring the the sweet chili sauce. I was like building my wrap slowly, like putting in like the lettuce and like the cucumbers, and then put the cheddar on top. And I was like sat there and I was like, where is she? Like 15 minutes goes by and I've like eaten like the cucumber, like the tomatoes out of the wrap. So I'd go and put a few more in. And then she comes with this sweet chili sauce, and I'm so excited about this sweet chili sauce. And then I go to pour it onto my wrap, and it literally just all comes out. I've just got loads of sweet chili sauce on my wrap that I sat there for ages waiting to eat. I was literally just like, yeah, this is kind of the story of my life right now. But yeah, like everyone was just absolutely howling because like, yeah, it was a typical Canadian thing to do. But yeah, like things like that yeah, just like the random things that happen like when you're in the village, and it becomes really entertaining because you're in such a bubble that like, yeah, you just kind of around each other all day, and like it's the little things that kind of crack people and like little things that are just like funny. But you kind of like, you're there to like support your teammates.
I have to say, Kadeena, I've never in my life had sweet chili tuna, and yet suddenly from this story, I'm craving it now.
So good.
But I love that story, and I love that you found ways to accommodate yourself. I travel a lot for work, and I bring comfort foods with me because it's just hard to be eating on the road and having unfamiliar foods. So I love that you found ways to accommodate yourself, and I also love that your teammates were so supportive of you. And I'm sure you go into the experience already so bonded and come out even more bonded on the other side. And representing your country, I can only imagine what that feels like. How on that race day at the end, when you know that you've just represented and won for your country, what is that feeling like?
It's a real like surreal feeling. I think every win is different. And I think what it's taken to get on the line for everyone makes it feel different. Like who's there. Like it is great. Like just being able to represent not just yourself, but your family, like your team, like the country, like representing people like from like your demographic. Like I feel like I'm a Black female disabled Christian. Like I feel like I'm representing like so many different people. And sometimes that can feel like pressure, and that's probably pressure I put on myself internally. But also like when I stand up there on the top of the podium and I'm like, yeah, I've done this for like all these people. It feels pretty amazing. I mean, there's been times when I haven't wanted to get out and race. And just the thought of representing for other people or just empowering someone else to kind of get up and do something they didn't think they could do. That's what gets me out there to race. And honestly, like the amount of podiums I've cried on, like, I feel like it's so emotional because you spent all this time, you've done all this work to get to this point. And it's like breathe, like I actually did it. Like I'm stood like here, and I've achieved what some people have said is impossible. I've achieved what people doubted you'd be able to do. You've achieved what you've doubted yourself you could do at some point. And you overcame so much to get there. So like sometimes that feeling is literally like relief. Sometimes it's just like sheer, just like joy. And it's just a mixture of emotions, like, and having that kind of GB flag, like go up, like, singing the national anthem. And it's weird because we've just changed to having a king. So I now have to sing God Save Our King. And I'm always like forgetting and I sing the Queen. But it is just such an amazing moment. And for me, this time it was with my teammates, and being able to do that with them was a real special moment.
I know that feeling of just putting so much work into something. I think we can all relate to having whatever it is, some labor of love, even if it's just like a fancy meal, that you're trying to cook, and you get to that end and that feeling of pride. And on the level of what you've done, months, years of training and commitment, overcoming so many of those dark moments, those challenges. And as you said, not just feeling like you're doing it for you, but removing yourself from that and saying, I'm doing this for the community at large. It must just be such an incredible feeling. And again, like so well-deserved, everything that you have accomplished. And I have to know, what is next for you? Are we going to be seeing you here in Los Angeles for the Para Games? What are you planning on surprising us with next?
Um, yeah. So for me, I I crashed out in my main event in Paris, which was devastating. So like yeah, I was so proud of myself for being able to get back up and race with the boys. That's probably like my proudest moment. But I still feel like I've got unfinished business with my individual event. Unfortunately, it's actually changed. So my world record will now stand forever, which is super weird. But it's changed to double the distance that it was. So it's a new challenge. So yeah, I'll definitely be going on to LA. Like I'm really looking forward to that. And then just challenging myself. Like I want to be able to get back into being, at the top in two different sports. I actually went on a trip to Bali after the games, and I was learning how to surf. And now I'm like, ooh, whatever event can I like put in? So yeah, you might see me in like another sport. But for now, I'm just enjoying like kind of cycling, like doing like gym work. And don't have any like major specific goals, but I just know I want to be in LA for something because it's gonna be such a vibe. Americans are so crazy.
I am planning an upcoming trip to Bali, so I'm gonna have to poke you for some recommendations.
So good. Oh my gosh.
And I hope we'll be seeing you here in Los Angeles. It sounds like we will. I could honestly talk to you for so much longer, Kadeena, but unfortunately, we don't have much more time. So thank you so much for chatting with me, for sharing so much, and we will all be following you and cheering you on.
Thank you so much. It's been absolutely great to talk to you, and Bali tips incoming.
Thank you. DM me, hit me up. I want to hear everything.
Please welcome javelin Paralympic athlete Navdeep Singh.
Hello, Navdeep. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from India. I have so many questions for you, but before we dive in, I would love it if you could give us a brief visual description.
Hello, ma'am. मेरा नाम नवदीप है.
My name is Navdeep, and I am a parathlete and participate in parathletics. And because of my dwarfism, I am called a disabled athlete, and that is why I participate in para.
Thank you for sharing. I would love to hear about your para-athletic journey. How did it start and how did you get to where you are today?
दरअसल मैं जिस
Actually, I am disabled by birth, and it affects only 20,000 children. I have been suffering from this condition since childhood, and since then, my background, my family background, has been sports only. My father was also a wrestler, and it was from there that I started my game. It was by watching him that I started my game. Before javelin, I used to do wrestling and used to compete among normal people in wrestling, not with such disabled athletes. So from there, I started my game. But gradually, in 2017, I found the right sport which could take me ahead in life, and from 2017 till now, I have been playing javelin throw, and it is only because of javelin throw that I was, of course, able to meet you all here. That's the main reason.
Well, I think it's very clear that you never let your disability stop you from pursuing that passion of athletics, and it's taken you a long way. How did you prepare for the Paralympics?
I believe that everyone has problems in life, and I can also say that there have been a few more problems than normal in my life, but instead of weakening me, those problems have strengthened me, and learning lessons from them has given me courage, and only then I have been able to compete at the world level and on platforms like Paralympics. And there was some kind of passion in my mind, and it was my father's dream that I should be able to win a medal for him. on his behalf in Paralympics or Olympics. And this dream and this passion has brought me to Paralympics and has strengthened me and given me the courage to win a medal for India, for the country, and for my family.
I really love that mindset, and I share a similar one. I always say that, yes, my disability presents problems, but everybody's life has problems, and these are the problems that I'm used to dealing with at this point. And instead of seeing these challenges as a roadblock that stops me, I choose to see them as fuel for my fire to push me and inspire me to work harder for the next thing that I have to overcome to achieve that goal that I'm working towards. And it's clear that you have done that time and time again, and you have achieved really high goals, making not only yourself and your father proud, but your whole nation proud, achieving that gold medal. Do you have any really special memories or fun behind the scenes moments from the most recent games that you'd like to share with us?
To me, the best of all, my moment was that when I went for the competition and when I entered the Paralympic ground, the trust that my coach had on me was clearly visible. The hope that my coach had on me, although I did not have that much hope on me, but the hope that my coach had on me was clearly visible to me. That moment for me, I felt so good that time, and I was able to feel those feelings, those emotions, and I remember those moments, the confidence that I could see on the coach's face towards me. That was quite a nice moment for me, which gave me happiness. There was a lot of seriousness in the village. There was a little focus and seriousness in the pre-competition, so I did not pay that much attention. But yes, I remember a moment, ma'am. I'll share that with you. When we used to go for training before the Paralympic events, the ground we had was of a different type. The type of competition ground was different. The type of training ground was different, but we had been there previously from India long ago. So that is why we knew one ground which is similar to the training ground. So instead of going to the training ground given by the French government in Paris, we used to go to another ground, and there we trained very peacefully, like in India. Means we found an environment like India. So that was a little interesting thing for me in Paris.
Well, clearly you did make it work, achieving that medal, and it's so important to have people there behind you, supporting you. I think it's clear that your father has supported your athletic journey. Sounds like your coach has been a big support to you and a big believer in you, and obviously India was there supporting you as well. What does it feel like to represent your country on a global stage like that, competing against the world's best athletes?
Of course,
felt very good, because doing something for India, for the country, or honoring the country, or doing something for the country which is in honor of the country, those things always make me feel proud. And apart from this, whenever many things happen in the country which make us feel proud, I come forward actively in it, and I was very happy when I was able to get the gold medal for India, and I felt very good on behalf of the country, on behalf of the family, on behalf of everyone. And I was feeling very proud when our national anthem was being played and waved the flag of our country at a global level and on such a big level, so I felt quite good.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. You truly have so much to be proud of yourself for, and your country has so much to be proud of yourself for. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. And I don't want to take up too much more of your time because I know it's late over there in India, but I'd love to just wrap this up by hearing what's next for you.
No, in my opinion, it is not that I have achieved much. This, I think, is the beginning. There is still much left to do. And for the future, there is an effort for doing better and better things. Preparations have started on how I can improve myself.
Well, I can confidently say I think you've got big things ahead of you. You will have all of India cheering you on and all of us watching this here cheering you on as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please welcome track and field Paralympic athlete Taylor Swanson.
Hello, Taylor. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I have plenty of questions I want to get into, but before we dive into that, could you give us a little self-description?
My name's Taylor. I am Asian and I'm wearing a black top.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And my first question is, I would just really love to hear about your athletic journey as a whole.
Yeah, so my athletic journey actually is very interesting. I grew up running track as a kid, running able-bodied, not realizing I had a disability. But after a knee injury and just not really coming back after that and having multiple surgeries, we explored kind of this para world that I honestly didn't know anything about, and that was a super interesting experience. I had a physical therapist after like 10 years of trying to get back to what I could do before to realize, wait, I think you qualify for para athletics, and that's kind of where I came to Spokane to do a track meet and met Teresa Skinner, who kind of figured out that I had cerebral palsy, always had as a kid. Just all my challenges, both in the classroom, outside of the classroom, sports, there were so many things that kind of made sense that as a kid I didn't know wasn't, quote, normal. So just being able to get the answers that I didn't know I was looking for. And that's where I kind of started this into para sports. And I had a huge support team in Spokane, as well as just my family as I made this new transition and just learning about what it means to have cerebral palsy.
Wow, that is a fascinating journey to go from non-disabled athletics to a career-changing injury to a later in life diagnosis. It's certainly been a journey that you've been on as an athlete and a para-athlete now. Training, as you know, looks different for everybody, and I think especially in para sports, everybody's disability looks different, and so everybody's training looks different. What did training for the Paris Paralympics look like for you?
So training for Paralympics was very interesting just because I had always been told I need to push as hard as I can, but someone who fatigues easily because of my disability, sometimes it's not about doing the most work possible, but just the quality of the work. So maybe one day I have more symptoms, or I'm just not quite myself 100%. So it's about kind of figuring out what I can do the best way I can and not pushing myself to the point when maybe a couple days down the road might not help me get to my goal.
I really love that, focusing on the quality of your work and not just constantly pushing yourself to fatigue or pushing yourself to the limit. I feel like that's a life lesson that all of us can take away from this, whether we're in sports or not. And I know that the Paris Paralympics was, correct me if I'm wrong, your first time competing at the Paralympics. I'd love it if you could share some behind the scenes stories or special moments that really stood out to you from that experience.
Yeah, so it didn't start off the way I had planned. So because of my disability, I fell I was running the 200 final. I actually fell like 10 meters before the finish line, which obviously is not the way you want to start. But just going through that and being that experience was actually really good for me. Just trying to regroup and being like, okay, this bad thing happened, but I still had so much more races to do. So being able to just regroup and focus on my next races, because I still had the 100, which I ended up medaling in, and the 4x1 relay, which I also medaled in. So even though I started not the way I wanted to, just having that bad moment to then regroup and being able to refocus and moving forward and just doing the best I can and going from there, seeing what I could do.
I love that story. And it, again, is such a great life lesson for all of us. This idea that when at first you might feel like you failed or it didn't go exactly as you had planned, instead of giving up, letting that fuel you to fight harder the next time, and proof that it was worth it. I mean, you didn't give up, you pushed through, and then you medaled not once, but twice. And I'm sure that just feels so incredible with it being your first Paralympics. What did it feel like to be on Team USA and represent your country on the world stage like that against the best athletes there is?
Yeah, that was a new experience for me. The crowd was amazing, having these 70,000 people in the stands for every competition. Just having all those people, because like I competed at Worlds in May of 2024, and it wasn't as packed. So just having a full crowd to really get behind these para athletes felt amazing.
It's hard to even imagine what 70,000 screaming fans would sound like, let alone feel like. I'm sure like nothing you could even imagine or compare it to. So what is next for you? Are you going to be here at the Paralympics in Los Angeles? What's next for Taylor in life and athletics?
Yeah, so my goal next is at Worlds is 2025, so I want to qualify for that and see where I can go from there. And then obviously I would love to qualify for the 2028 LA Games. It just being at home would just be an awesome experience.
Well, we will be cheering you on for sure. And thank you so much for sharing your journey with me today.
Thank you for having me.
As we conclude, let's celebrate the athletes who shared their stories with us today. Their achievements showcase the power of authentic, inclusive disability representation. And to our athletes, thank you so much for sitting down and having that enlightening conversation with me. Your commitment to excellence and to advocacy is helping shape a more inclusive world for all of us. And to all of you tuning in at home, thank you so much for joining us. As you all know, disability inclusion is an ongoing effort that requires all of us to collectively come together to see the change that we know we need. Head to disabilityin.org to learn about 5 new ways that you can contribute year-round, and share those learnings on social media tagging @disabilityin to help amplify your message. Have a great night, and remember, together we are helping build a more inclusive and equitable world.
Thank you for joining Disability In to celebrate the 2024 International Day of Persons with Disabilities.